Hey, movie lovers, we're back. We're talking Rampage. It's a quick review of the movie starring The Rock. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Anatomy of a Movie.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Anatomy of a Movie. Like I said, we're talking Rampage. It's the latest Rock movie. And for those of you who've been following us, we do an in-depth review. This week we did Isle of Dogs. That's right, breaking free, baby. And, we thought a fun enough movie that we could talk about is Rampage. We don't have to go so in-depth with it, but we'll give you kind of our quick thoughts and various reactions and so forth. I'll put a spoiler warning on it simply because we'll talk about certain things, and even though it's a quick review, we might get into spoiler territory, so be forewarned. But if you want to, nonetheless, if you're joining us for the very first time, feel free to check out past episodes, future episodes. We do things in depth, and then we do things on the surface. And a movie like this, it's more on the surface. Why not?
Definitely.
But I could never do it alone. I have Marisa Serafini with me.
Hello, everyone.
I have Demetri Panos.
Hey, movie fans, what's happening?
And I'm Phil Svitek. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with overall thoughts for Rampage.
Oh my goodness, where to begin?
You tell me.
Okay, so you have to go into this movie suspending every disbelief of everything, like science involved, theories, all like animal creations, disaster movies. This movie is literally all over the place, in not a terrible way, but like there's no way you can take this movie seriously. So when you go into a movie just knowing it's just going to be an absolutely ridiculous film, you might have fun with it. And like after a while, because I went into this film like thinking, hey, there could be a fun action movie. It was. It definitely was. You can't like nitpick it and like dissect it as well as we did, because it's just it's a ridiculous fun movie for the teenage boys who would enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I come walking away a couple of things. Number one, there are three constants right now in the world of cinema. Marvel movie, anything with the Marvel logo, Star Wars logo, or The Rock is going to make money. I mean, that's it. I watched this movie, and I guess based on the strength of Peyton Reed, I believe is the director here, whose earlier film...
Oh, and I like him. He's done Ant-Man and Bring It On.
Yeah. And wasn't he the gentleman that also they worked together, The Rock and he worked together in San Andreas, I think.
Yes.
Right?
That makes sense.
That was a fun action movie. And then we come here to another movie that's based off of a video game. And it's a monster movie. It's kaijus in a sense. And the only reason why it works is because, the direction, I thought the action scenes were filmed really well, and The Rock is in it. If anybody else but The Rock was in this movie, it would have been short for the cinematic world, I believe. I mean, we talked earlier this year about another movie based off of a video game called Tomb Raider, which I felt was a better movie, from an action standpoint.
It's Brad Peyton.
Brad Peyton. Brad Peyton.
It was like Peyton Reed's someone completely different.
Brad Peyton. Sorry. I apologize for that. Thank you for correcting me. I sit corrected. I can't. This head can't hold everything. I try as I may. But he's a good action director, and I think one of the strengths about San Andreas is that he was able to build layer and layer in action, and he did that here. But again, I was talking about Tomb Raider, which I felt was a better movie as being based off of a video game, and this one's just silly. Like, you check your brain in at the door, but it has no right working. And, when I look at movies like Kong, Skull Island, I felt was a much better movie than this. But people just love them some Rock these days. I mean, he can make... I felt Jumanji was a mediocre movie. He makes it into a multi-international, worldwide hit. This movie looks to be an international hit. because he's in it. It's like he can step in shit and come out smelling like a rose. This Rock guy, he can do no wrong today. And God bless him for it. I mean, we don't have an action star like we do The Rock. You know, he sort of harkens back to the Schwarzeneggers and the Willises of the 80s and 90s, but I want to know what he says no to. Yeah, I want to know what he says no to. He seems to be in everything. He's coming out with a movie in another couple of months called Skyscraper, which, by the way, I'm in for. As dumb as it looks, it's Towering Inferno meets Die Hard. I'm there.
Well, we'll talk about all that. As far as me, the trailer just looked absolutely ridiculous, and what I was most surprised about that I actually want to ask you guys, it had a lot more sentimentality, which was carried by The Rock. That, you know, as silly as it was, I bought into the relationship between George and him, and I thought it actually worked for the most part pretty well. Now, I will preface this. You have to, part of it is because the standards of the rest of this movie were so lowered that in comparison, I grasped to for that. And I don't know. Here's the thing. You cannot deny that there's a charisma to The Rock.
No, absolutely not.
The same way, like that guy, his friend wanted to be him. Like, oh, all the girls like him. Should I shave my head? There's a semblance to The Rock that if you're a guy, you kind of want to be like him. If you're a girl, you probably want to date him.
No, I don't.
I said probably, not definitely. Okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, I get that. Yeah.
Julia is in the booth. Julia
like
V. Bear in the booth. Get on your mic. Would you date The Rock if he wanted to date you? I'll wait. And wait some more.
I said I don't know if I'd date him, but I'd definitely hook up with him.
There you
more
go.
than
Boy,
once.
all right. I rest my case. I rest my case.
He's not my type. I get that you liked the relationship. I still think Jill and Joe
I'm going to
from
do this
Mighty
simply
Joe
because
Young.
it was in the movie. And for those in audio, I'm giving Marisa the finger.
Flipping me off. Very professional.
You're number
Very
one, Marisa.
professional.
You're number one.
George
Yeah. Hey,
flipped.
yes, thank you. I think the relationship between Jill and Joe from Mighty Joe Young, which was 20 years ago, was still better than this film. I mean, sure, fine, whatever. It's two basically bros just having fun with each other. It was so ridiculous. I'm like, okay, there's no way that this gorilla could be flipping him off, understand like bad humor and all that. So I was like, yeah, whatever.
I'm going to turn it to you, Demetri. Did you cry at the end?
No.
No.
What?
I didn't cry at the. No,
You cried.
tears
Have
of
a
joy
heart.
that I had to go. No, it's not that I didn't have a heart. I was buying into that relationship. I didn't cry because I knew he wasn't gonna. I just knew he wasn't gonna die, and I knew that it was a build up to the finger. I knew that he was gonna go. He was gonna flip him off, because I just didn't think that was like to kill him off, and we'll get more into this, but to kill that character off in this kind of a movie would have been senseless. It would have been so senseless because he wouldn't have fit. Like, I don't need dark tones in a movie based off of a silly video game, which I played as a youngin' quite a bit. Lost a lot of quarters on it, and I got it from my Nintendo. But yeah, I knew he wasn't gonna. You couldn't kill him off. And
I thought it
the
would've
whole
been
sign language thing, I felt that this has been done
look like
with gorillas.
Like, yeah.
You know, I'm fine with the sign language. I bought into it. There have been other movies, maybe Congo, in which sign language has been used. Gorillas in the Mist. I'm pretty sure she used sign language as a language to communicate to the gorillas. So I was fine with it, and them being bros, so to speak, that this gorilla had a sense of humor. All right, I'm all in. Like, it's like you said, I checked my brain in. Well, I left it in the car. It wasn't even when I bought the ticket. I just left it in the car because, like you, Phil, when I saw that trailer, I was like, come on. Really? I mean, okay, The Rock's in it. I do like that. I do like this director as an action director. At the end of the day, this is a it's $120 million B movie.
Okay, so I want to ask you this, like, how self-aware is it? Because even in the trailer, when they have the big action set piece, and at no point, I thought they would have cut this out of the movie, because at no point is the wolf kind of flying or taking advantage of that that I saw. It was kind of like, wait, is he flying? Is he not? I was trying to pick up on that. And then when The Rock says, of course the wolf flies, I was like,
Of course the wolf.
oh. And it's like, where did that come from? Right. That's your only plot. Like, Sharknado has those types of jokes where it answers a question with a question. And so, I don't know. Was it self-aware is the question.
Oh, for sure. And I think there were moments where you can definitely understand. Some of the characters were so stupid. And you're like, what are you even doing there? How the heck do you even have this multi-billion company? Or like, how are you running this when your IQ level is only 20? You know, there's just like, even the characters along with the creatures are on the same level of ridiculousness.
Yeah, well, aside from our villains, which we'll get to, I guess, in a sense, but I felt everybody else actually, like, I didn't find it to be so self-aware that they were winking to the audience. Like Naomie Harris, I thought between The Rock, Harry Dean Morgan, Naomie Harris, our three main leads here, I think they all played it as straight as they could possibly play it without overplaying their hands. And it was just funny, like, you know, Naomie Harris, who's coming off of an Academy Award nomination, and she's Moneypenny, and now she's in a movie with The Rock. And I think between Harry Dean Morgan and Naomie Harris, so we got this movie about big monsters tearing apart Chicago based off a video game. No way, it's got The Rock in it. Okay, I think that's like, oh, well, it could be a hit. No. Like, this will, you know, and I don't have to be so dramatic. It'll be easier to shoot outside of the physicality of it all.
Apart from we will talk about the villains, so I want to stick to these guys, because the level that they did actually bring to this, it was way more authentic than I imagined it to be. Now, granted, the character of, quote, the cowboy, or yeah, I thought, like, who in the government has this job? Oh, you're an other government official? Like, what does that even mean? So I felt, obviously, that was just completely made up. But nonetheless, as far as him as a character and their relationship, I really bought into it and appreciated it. And I thought the chemistry between The Rock and her in particular, I felt a connection. There was electricity there. The Rock is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, and I felt that. Listen. A man can do no wrong. But I do want to say, like, as far as George dying, I thought it could be it was going to be a bold move had they done that. Simply because if you're looking at these monsters, these creatures being a negative to just the environment, okay, well, problem solved. They're all dead. And it would have been a very heartbreaking moment of like, oh, George sacrificed himself to save his human.
Sure. Can we talk about that then for a minute? Because it was integral to The Rock, whether he was going to be or not be in the movie. Sure, and that was in the original script that George, right?
Yes.
Yeah. George died at the end. And The Rock said, no, if you want me in the movie, he can't die. These aren't the movies that I make. And they used the same arguments you just brought up. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I have a brand. And you know what? When you think of, he does. And he's like, I'm not going to be in that movie. My movies have to have happy endings. And he's definitely not doing maybe he took a page from the Harrison Ford book of acting where don't be the bad guy in a movie because that'll torpedo your career. When he was in What Lies Beneath, and he was the bad guy, and nobody wanted to see him like that. He's like, nope. I go in. It's a brand. People like this. It's got to have a happy ending. We got to write it so that he lives at the end. And I'm like, okay. He was protecting himself. I respect that. They made it so that he protects himself and George lives. When I walked out of the theater, I overheard There was an older couple behind me. Actually, there were a lot of people talking, going, "What did you think of that movie? I really liked that movie." She goes, "I'm so glad he didn't die at the end." And I'm like, well, you can't, not in a movie like Rampage. This isn't like an environmental, heady, deep movie. It's got to end on a happy ending on that. And that was really funny conversation. She goes, "I'm so glad." And she goes, "Oh my God, if he died at the end, that would have ruined the movie for me."
I agree. Women like happy endings when it comes to like sentimentality and creatures. Like there was a woman next to me. I'm like, seriously, she was in her 30s or 40s. She was crying when George was faking out death. And
I cried too.
I'm like,
you
stop it,
senseless
woman.
bastards.
Stop it, woman. I still think Mighty Joe
I don't
Young's a
believe
better
you.
movie, and Joe almost died at the end when he fell off the Ferris wheel. Like that had more emotion, and he still lived at the end. I knew he wasn't gonna die because it's a ridiculous film. I say it.
It
again.
was. It was. You know. It
You,
was.
can't,
It
you
was.
can't kill him when you know there's such a friendship between George and the.
Well, let's talk about.
It was ridiculous, but I'm not saying I didn't have a bad time while I'm watching it. But once the movie was over, it was over for me. So
What did you
it
guys?
didn't make me angry.
What did you guys think of the action then? I ironically there was a lot less action than I would have expected for a movie of this kind. It really came down to the last set piece, all in all.
Which is a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, when the hell are we getting to this? Like, we got the birth of these monsters. Cool, great, get it. Then there was a whole middle where I was like, when are we going to fight? When are we going to rampage?
They all had to come together.
They all had to come together.
I mean, I actually didn't mind the action. I think that was actually pretty well done in this film. I'm from Illinois. I know Chicago. I used to walk Chicago every other day. So I was like, I know those streets. I walked on the street every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it, like, I understood the Chicago, and to see it get destroyed, I was like, oh no. I did like Sears Tower, how they all had to like come to
Right.
that meeting point. Sears Tower, aka Willis Tower. Now, whatever, still always be Sears Tower. I'm still bitter about that.
I get that.
But-
I understand.
I like when they all finally been, especially the reveal of the crocodile, because we knew it was coming, and we finally see it. We're like, oh yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
It was fun finally seeing them all fight each
I
other.
think what's been interesting to watch in a lot of these movies is this I'm trying to figure out the right word, but sensitivity towards civilians. And the movies now make it a very big point of, are the civilians out? Are the civilians out? Okay, great, they're out. Now we can rampage.
And I'm going to credit that's the Man of Steel after effect. Because one of the criticisms was, oh my God, how many people did you just kill? Between the fight with Zod. And now it's, let's make sure we evacuate the city. Let's make sure we do this, which
Fastest
is
evacuations I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was like, Chicago's pretty big.
Yeah, and
You
there are
can't get
many,
millions of people out within 2 hours.
Well, I think they said that there was still a percentage there. Listen, Chicago is a great movie setting. It's a beautiful city to
Gorgeous city.
see, both on land and from the air.
And
It's just
see.
very in the sea. It's it has a visual stamp. So seeing it get destroyed, I find it to be. I mean, listen, how many times have we seen LA destroyed or New York destroyed or whatever?
Francisco.
San Francisco. So it's really, Chicago is a great setting for this fight, for this rampage to happen in. And again, I think that Brad Peyton does a really good job in his set pieces. And visually, like he knows what to get shot wise. So you're engaged. I agree with you 100%, Phil. There was that middle where I'm like going, okay, when are they going to fight? And how are they going to fight? Because they're either working to get and shut off this tower, and then what's going to happen? Look, this is one of the most simplistic of games. If you've ever played it, you pick a monster, and they're all based off of Godzilla, King Kong, And there's other way.
No.
They weren't called Godzilla or King Kong in the game, but you climbed up buildings, sort of kind of like Wreck-It Ralph. And you had to ruin these.
destroy them?
Right, you destroy them. You had army men coming, and level after level, there were booby traps in the building, and more army men would come to shoot you down. So that was the game. A lot of buildings got knocked down over
violent.
here. Yeah, well, it was a monster game. It was fun. This movie, a lot of buildings got knocked down.
They took down the Sears Tower, man.
Yeah,
It's the most iconic building in Chicago.
absolutely. And I did like how they made this crocodile or alligator or whatever, sort of like it was impervious. Like it was. I was like, okay, how are they going to kill this? Why don't we try like shooting it in the mouth? And every single thing they tried to do, even The Rock was trying to do to kill this thing, like this thing is heavily plated. I mean, so I enjoyed that. And then we had the wolf.
Yeah, I liked how it progressed overall. I thought that was a great action set piece overall with a lot of things well thought out, and you could see it. We talked that often of, we get so caught up in the boo that we're like, all right, I'm just gonna tune out because I don't really know what the hell's actually happening, but I know this has got to come out of it.
You're right.
So I appreciate that. Because we are a quick review, I want to shift gears and talk about the villains. The most ridiculous portion of this movie, which, as far as their motive, it wasn't quite clear. They were basically doing billions and billions of dollars worth of research so they could sell this research for millions upon millions.
Yeah, I mean, I did like Malin Ackerman. She's good. She played such a biatch. She was great. But then to be played by like her quote unquote brother, played by Jake Lacey, who played Brett, who was so unbelievably stupid. I wanted to slap him every time he was on screen. I'm like, how the heck are you running a multi-billion company? Like, every time he came onto screen, I was like, okay, whatever. I can't listen to you because you are so unbelievably stupid.
Yeah, I mean, he was annoying. Malin Ackerman as Claire. I mean, she was so dastardly.
She had a great death.
She was so dastardly that there was a point. There were two things. I expected at some point a handlebar mustache was gonna go in, and she was gonna go and rub her hands together because she was so dastardly. And I'm like, okay, this is the movie that we're watching. It's like, this is what we're watching right now. Like, the villains are so evil and bad. But then she's paired with this dummy of a brother.
Of her brother.
And I thought she was going to
also
kill
gets
him.
crushed pretty.
Yeah,
He had
that's
it pretty
awesome.
dead, too.
But at least he wasn't corrupt.
He was just
He was too
stupid.
stupid
That's his own
to be
corruption.
corrupt.
No, he was just too stupid to know how to handle her.
Or
just
anything.
anything, yeah.
Like, how could you entrust? Yeah. Yeah,
I can
agreed.
give you my suitcase and I'm gonna walk free. Okay.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure
But
you are.
you are also right, though. It's like, what's the motive here? Oh well, we have millions, but we had this technology, and we're only gonna make more millions. And the brother's like, yeah, that's great. I mean, it was just dumb beyond belief. The only cool thing about that office area was the actual arcade game of Rampage was in the background.
Yeah, I like the screens because the screens did show like what else was going on.
Sure.
And, like, it put a pinpoint in where everyone is in the scope of what's from jumping from state to state. The office was cool.
And calling it CRISPR, that's like a as seen on TV product for making chicken tenders. Ooh, get the new CRISPR. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I mean, as far as things that actually made sense, the fact that they tried to pin it on Naomi Harris, I thought, okay, I could see that now, the way they went about it. A little bit ridiculous, but at least in theory it worked. And I mean, if nothing else, to get all the monsters together in one location,
Sure.
that was
Sure.
ironically an inventive MacGuffin.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure.
She had
No,
the
I
best
get
death
it.
though.
Oh, she
Especially
did.
when she got swallowed. I'm like, yeah, you deserved it.
It would only been better if it was followed by a mega burp. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But the airplane sequence too.
Or the helicopter sequence?
The falling down.
Oh,
Yeah.
the airplane.
Yeah. That jet scene, like, that was great, and how it was foreshadowed, and actually, one of the better. It was better than the scene in The Mummy. Let's just say the Tom Cruise Mummy. It was done really well, like the fight with George, and I like that.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't just the stupid thing of where they say, oh, your tranquilizers, he's growing fast and so forth, and he's like, hey, listen, we got it, we get it. Now, as for they accounted for that, what they could not account for was this high-pitched signal.
Right.
So, there are some redeeming qualities story-wise to this movie where it doesn't just become this cliche-ridden thing. Now, the cliches it chooses.
Well, I'll even give, like, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, who I thought was going to be the a-hole throughout the whole movie. I thought he was going to be that a-hole military man. But after that jet going down thing, I bought the three of them as a team.
Yeah.
And I actually bought the chemistry that they had together as a team. And even Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like you said, that there was a spark between Naomie Harris and The Rock. I found that too. Like, if a talent agency or a casting thing said, hey, let's put Jeffrey Dean Morgan and The Rock in a movie together again, I'd be, okay, I'm fine. Don't put them as nemesises, though. Have them, they were fine. They were all good together, I felt.
All right, so I have one final question for you, and it's the most important one. So choose wisely. And this is for you at home as well, or in your car, wherever, rock climbing, whatever you're doing. Where do you rank this movie in terms of The Rock's performances? Is it your favorite? Is it middle of the ground? I know, it's the toughest question of all.
To put it on an actual numeric scale, or just in film scale, I think...
No. We're ranking The Rock movies.
Yes.
You're not comparing this to Never Let Me Go or something like
I
that.
love that film.
Yes,
Also
I
a
know.
better film. I think this was...
Tooth Fairy? Okay.
right? His ridiculous films. I think his character in the Fast and Furious movies is better than this one. His charisma level, high in this movie. Yeah. I can't put it on a numeric scale. I really can't.
Well, just pick. I mean, is this is this above average for you? Is this middle or lower of the things he's been in?
I say middle. I've seen him in other films where I actually enjoyed him more. So I'd say middle for me.
Okay, Demetri.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, average. I agree with you regarding the Fast and the Furious movies. He's done well in those, but I also liked him in the Escape to Witch Mountain reboot that they did, where he worked with Carlo Gugino again. Listen, this guy has done, this guy's done a ton of movies. It's taken him a little while to become this Dwayne Johnson mega star that he is, because once they hooked him up with Jason Statham, once they put him into the Fast and Furious movies, that you have to admit that upped the ante to those movies, right? Then you pair him up with Central Intelligence, Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
You pair him up with him, and again, you're like going, okay, this isn't really going to work, is it? Oh yeah, it worked really well to the tune of 127 domestic. Baywatch is his only recent clunker with 58 million. Jumanji, $404 million so far. Moana, he was the voice of Moana. Not the voice of Moana,
he tied
voice
himself to
in.
Disney, which helped him.
And now he's going to be in The Jungle Cruise, which I'm going to say right now, outside of the other Disney movies where they've based it off an attraction, next to Pirates, my guess is Jungle Cruise movie with The Rock is going to be their next big thing. It'll far surpass Haunted Mansion and Tomorrowland. It just seems that every project this guy picks, and the spin-off from Fast and the Furious, where they're going to put him with Jason Statham and their characters are going to go. I think those movies are going to be like really big. He is riding an incredible wave right now, which, hey, again, good for him because he's harmless. You know, I mean, he's good for kids. He's good for families. He's very safe, and he definitely has crossover appeal. If Jumanji didn't show us that already. I mean, because to me, that was when I eventually saw that movie, I was like, really? Wow. And then I see this movie, and I was like, really? Wow. It beat out A Quiet Place. But
that's not
simple PG-13, and you can take families can go to it, and people aren't going to cry at the end because they killed George.
I enjoyed it more than I thought, so kudos to them. I really wanted Baywatch to be better, but so this one's better than Baywatch, unfortunately, but I wanted Baywatch to be better.
And we enjoyed San Andreas.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a fun B disaster movie that he was
See
fun
San
in.
Andreas.
Yeah,
It's better than this. It's
And I
fun.
also didn't see Jumanji either, the number one. So
listen,
I don't rush to the Rock movies. I really don't.
Yeah. And I granted Central Intelligence had its moments, not great, but you know, he has been able to do sort of in a sense like what Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nobody thought that Arnold Schwarzenegger could be successful in comedies. And then he hooked up with Ivan Reitman, and he does movies like Kindergarten Cop and Twins. And people laughed, and that's how he became that big, dominating foreign star, where other people like Sylvester Stallone tried and failed miserably at comedies. Dwayne Johnson is able to do it and have it all. In Jungle Book, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise, yeah. We already Jungle Cruise. It's actually one of my favorite rides at Disneyland, too. I love that ride.
all right, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
you do.
I do.
We've been on
I
it
love
together.
that ride. I love that ride.
All right, well, we digress. Absolutely. So there you have it. You know, not an in-depth review, but neither is the movie. Go enjoy it if you like it. I think it's worth a shot. You know, especially if you do like this. I mean, it's San Andreas, for my money's worth, is far better than this, but this is certainly enjoyable. More so than the trailer lets on.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you remember him in Get Smart?
I
do remember it.
That's a funny, and he was funny, and he had hair.
That's one of his better performances.
Yeah,
in Get
absolutely.
Smart.
He was funny. He was really good.
He was great in Get Smart.
He was.
Listen, he's call it what you want. He's a good actor. I mean, he's not an Oscar, but he is what he is. All right,
he is what he is.
He's a fun actor. We'll just say.
All right.
I'm not going to deny his charisma, as you said.
At Serafini TV.
That's right.
At DMovies1701.
Hello.
At Phil Svitek from me. Thank you guys as always. Next week we'll be doing two lighter movies, Super Troopers 2 and I Feel Pretty. Demetri will be over at CinemaCon, so he will not be joining us, but he will be here in spirit.
Boo.
We've done a lot of The Rock movies, so definitely check that out.
We have.
So, you know, a lot in the past, a lot to look forward to. And speaking of which, I'll announce it now. The week after Infinity Wars comes out, we will be doing our mega anatomy for that.
Infinity panel.
That's right. We're going to have all of the people in the world here talking about the movie.
And you.
Absolutely. So, look forward to that. Until next time, bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.